Jay, that's strangely close to Daniel Jones from the Giants. Daniel, is that you? Beat the Chiefs. Show me. If the Broncos and Russell Wilson can show me that they can beat the Chiefs, then I will start believing.
And the crowd up. And so are this defense, and Kansas City won't snap the ball again. The Denver Broncos have beaten the Kansas City Chiefs.
David Montgomery on the Lions, former Bear, gonna make this his revenge game for sure. David Montgomery gets the touchdown that ices the game. No! And there's a flag. There's flags. There's flags. There's flags. There's flags. Snap. Hold. Kick.
Denver wins! Denver wins! Let's go!
They open. No!
What happened? Oh shit. Yo, what is going on? Welcome to Only Football. We got ourselves a great game. We are here on this spectacular. This is weird. My display automatically, hold on, layout camera, mirror my camera. Why is that? I guess it's looked like this all night. Why do I feel like I should be on the right and not the left? Because my phone's to my left, but I'm seeing it to my right. Is this how I've looked all day? Yeah, this is how it's looked all day. We got Crafty, first one in here. Only Football Podcast. Ginger, we back. And we got Pebble. Me too. I think it looks shit fire. Hell yeah. Yeah, you've been on the left all day. Okay. Thank you. Just wanted to make sure that I haven't lost my mind. And who made the comment? Who made the comment about how editing can take as long as you're willing to work at it? Just curious. I just assumed it was a new setup. No, I'm in my new house right now. I'm in the new house. Still getting everything set up and situated. Taking some time. And 1 second, I got to make sure my flag doesn't fall. Where is that tape? I know what it is. It's my there we go. All right, there we go. I need to buy more thumbtacks. I have my window open because it's like the perfect day today. But then it got colder and more humid, and I think the humidity came inside, and I ran out of thumbtacks, so I had to use tape. And I think the tape with the moisture lost its stickiness because it's not duct tape. Mayfield hurt his left arm. Wait, who scored a touchdown? Uh-oh. What did I miss? Because like Tampa Bay has a touchdown and you guys are saying Bridgewater's the backup? What I saw today was that you can throw Gardner's Minshew or Daniel Jones in our offense and they will be successful or fail. The number 8 guy and the number 20 guy is the same for us. That just tells me how bad Richardson really is and how good of a coach Shane Steichen is. Here's a deep throw to Devontae Adams. Touchdown. Devontae Adams gone. Into the tunnel. That was crazy. Did you guys see that? Devontae Adams just caught this ball and he just left. This is like WWF. He just caught this ball and just decided to leave the stadium. He went so far into the tunnel. Man, Devontae Adams. He was one of my favorite wide receivers for fantasy football this year and one of my highest value wide receivers simply because he was coming off like these lackluster seasons where he goes to the Raiders and he's just not being used correctly. And then he goes to the Jets and it's like the Jets offense isn't working. And then he goes to the Rams and all of a sudden people are, and I use this exact analogy where I'm like, whenever a good wide receiver goes, from his team that he started with and he goes, to two different teams and he goes to a third team, we automatically take that receiver and we put him in this like journeyman wide receiver over 30 group. And it doesn't matter if you're Stephon Diggs or Amari Cooper or Devontae Adams, like we just like put them all together. And in the preseason, I was saying like, don't do that. Because there's a big difference between Devontae Adams going to the Raiders and having no quarterback because Derek Carr got like kicked out of town and going to the Jets and, their whole dysfunction in there. And I'm like, this guy is 31 years old and still in the prime of his career. And now he's going to the Rams. And this was after Cooper Kupp was gone. So I'm like, this guy is, going to be the clear number 2, but number 2 is a good thing because he may get more targets than the number 1, who was Puka Nacua, and Puka Nacua draws all the attention, and then Devontae Adams just gets to eat all of the work and all the targets. And then there's even been games where Puka Nacua has missed time, and Stafford and Devontae Adams really started getting on the same page and building that connection. The only thing I'm upset about is that I didn't draft Devontae Adams sooner. He was selected pretty early in my league, but man, if I could go back and do it again, I would have drafted him probably with my third pick. I would have taken him. My only hope for tomorrow is Bryce Young has a total dud of a day. I'm talking like 6 points, right? And I get 30 points from McCaffrey and like 15 points from rookie Pearsall, and Bryce Young has like 10 points. Then I would be able to win still. No thanks to Lamar Jackson, who got me 10 points. Jonathan Taylor got me 8. Aubrey got me 7. Ty Johnson got me 3 catches for 77 yards. I wish he could have added a touchdown to that. I was debating on starting Xavier Worthy over, Ricky Pearsall, but Jamison Williams was like a lock after 3 weeks in a row of getting 20 points. You guys, he got me 0 points today. So between Lamar Jackson getting 10, Jamison Williams getting me 0, and Jonathan Taylor getting me 8, I need Ricky Pearsall and Christian McCaffrey to make it all okay on Monday night. Speech to talk saying Minshew is hilarious. Instead of Minshew, Adams be like, this shit ain't over. I'm out. Someone has Young starting. The guy I'm playing, yeah. The guy I'm playing has Bryce Young starting, which is hilarious. I have Jackson Dart on my bench. He's starting over Lamar Jackson next week. And that is a promise. I'm done with Lamar's bullshit. I don't know what's wrong with him, but I'm not doing this anymore. This is multiple games now where he's just not right. Something's off. I don't know what is going on with this dude, but it is not good. So basically, the Chiefs and the Ravens are still going to make it to the postseason, which just tells you how long. I mean, the season feels so short. I mean, me and Jenja were just at the Broncos-Colts game. That was week 2. Now we have 6 games left, and then it's playoffs, and the season's over. And if your team's not in the playoffs, you have 6 more games, and it's over already for the whole entire year. Like, how is that possible? Is that what you were saying when you said you needed Young to have a bad game? Someone actually, yeah, the guy I'm playing. Actually, I'll show you. So this is my team, feeling nicey. And then this is the guy I'm playing. Fucking Wan'Dale Robinson, 31 points. Yeah, I mean, between Wan'Dale Robinson having 31, Kenneth Gainwell having 20, and Jonathan Taylor having 8, and Jameson Williams having freaking 0. Like, no, this is something's wrong. Something's wrong. Something's not okay. Yeah, just take a second and soak that in. Let me see if I can zoom in for you. No, that's too much, but I can do it this way. There you go. There it is. Right there. There's the view. I might even be able to make my box a little bigger. Yeah, that's perfect. I do have Chris Godwin on my bench, as you can see. I pricked up Mike Gesicki. He came off IR today. I was only going to start him if Joe Burrow played. Joe Burrow's been practicing. So next week, Gesicki might be my tight end. I kind of like what I got going here with Ty Johnson. I mean, look at that. Ty Johnson. He's been pretty good. You know what I mean? Like getting between like 10 and 18 points. Michael Wilson's been amazing. Ever since the Marvin Harrison Jr. injury, I've started Michael Wilson, and it was such a good decision. I remember watching, they said, breaking news, Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to miss some time with an oblique injury. I went to waivers immediately and picked up Michael Wilson, who had the best game of his entire career last week. Here's a big 4th and 2, and Baker Mayfield's on the field. Here we go. He dropped it. Sterling Shepard dropped it. And the Rams are going to take over. And this could be like a breaking point for the Buccaneers. I mean, this is what I mean when I talk about how, I don't want to say fluky, but how record dependent the NFL is when teams like the Bucs have the best record. Like if you're the Bucs, the Ravens, the Bills, the Chiefs, if you're any of those teams and you have the best record in the NFL, you get to be number one. Remember, the Bucs had the best record, tied with the Colts. I think they were both 5-1, and Tampa Bay was number one in the power rankings. And I remember Rick had him at number one, and I was like, Rick, why do you have Tampa Bay at number one? Tampa Bay is, I'm like, when we did this, it was the week before they played the Lions, and I said, you don't have Tampa Bay beating the Lions next week. You know what I mean? And he's like, and they're like, no, we don't. And I'm like, okay, so why would they be your number one team? It makes you sit back and ask yourself, like, am I putting this team at number one just because of their record? Or do I think this is the best team in the NFL? Because it's like even Tampa Bay's, even those wins that they put together, they won all of those games like by Baker Mayfield stringing together a last-minute drive. And then, yeah, they got beat by the Lions, and I'm pretty sure they've lost like 4 of their last 5 games, something like that. Now they're getting blown out by the Rams. And I remember saying on the podcast when the Bucs were 5-1, I was like, by the end of the season, it'll be week 18, and it'll all come down to the very final game. Like, it doesn't matter what the Bucs have done. Like, this is just the way the NFC South is. And anybody that got fooled by the Bucs and really thought, this is the best team in the NFL, you've lost your damn mind. You've lost your damn mind. The Buccaneers are a gritty football team, and they're better than average, but they are not in the elites. And even the teams that are trying to crawl their way out of a hole, Baltimore, Kansas City, Pittsburgh, maybe not Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Kansas City, the Chargers, even the Dolphins. Like, I don't know if the Dolphins and Tampa Bay played. I honestly don't know who I would pick if the game was, in Miami. I don't know. I just saw Miami, throttled the Bills, and they've won 3 of their last 4. And if they win out, they're going to have 10 wins. And they have a very easy schedule. They only have 3 difficult football games. One of them's week 18 against New England. So they're spared from, you got to win out. You don't want New England to be your next game. Because that could be the most likely game that they lose, but at least it's the last game. So you only got 2 other games in there that you have to win. One's against the Buccaneers. And this Buccaneers team, I'm not convinced Miami, I'm talking about Miami's schedule. Like, they only have 2 difficult games. And now I'm watching this Bucs game and I'm like, I don't know if the Bucs are even like a difficult, like, I think it's an even match if Miami has won, 5 of their last 6 and they're on a 4-game win streak coming into Tampa. And this is what Tampa looks like right now. This is what we've seen for the last month. And then the only other difficult game is the Steelers. And the Steelers are like the Bucs, where it's like, are the Steelers like this really good team? I'm just not seeing it. So to me, there's a lot of teams like I would even say like the Chiefs, the Bills are flirting with dropping to this zone, but the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Steelers, the Bucs, these are all teams that are like better than average, but they're just not good enough to be, they're not good enough for me to say they're top 5 in the NFL. The Seahawks, the Rams, the Patriots, and the Broncos. And I would have had the Colts in this group as well if they didn't lose to the Chiefs today. Now, I'm not saying they're out of the club. They're not. But I don't like what I've been seeing lately. I don't like the way that they were. Now, whatever. The running game's working in where was that game? Dublin or somewhere overseas. But okay, the run game's working. We're going to give it to Jonathan Taylor. But I don't like that the Colts won that game. It felt like Jonathan Taylor needed to give the Colts a miracle to get the win. And that's awesome for 1 week, but it's not repeatable, and that's concerning. So next week is another, I'm pretty sure next week is another challenging game for the Colts. I can't remember who it is, but it's going to be a good football team. I remember looking at it and going, "Oh, that's a tough game." And Colts, Texans, yeah. And at this point, like, I don't know. That's a don't touch it for me. Texans, Colts, I don't want anything to do with that game. Because I don't trust Daniel Jones right now. And I'm trying not to be a victim of the moment. But one thing I know about Daniel Jones is I've seen him do this in his career before, where he's very streaky and he plays really good for a little bit, and then all of a sudden it goes away. And the question is, like, is it going to go away for the whole year, or did it just go away for a couple weeks and it's going to come back? That is TBD. Now, if the Daniel Jones that played the Broncos can come back, the Colts are going to be a top team in the league. But if this like quarterback gone cold thing is going to last for 6 more weeks, I mean, it's looking like what could have been type of year. That picture is epic. Which picture? Mad Groovy. Which picture? A 31-point game from Wan'Dale Robinson is nuts. Yeah. On this point, though, brothers, you cannot paint out that the teams are so periodically similar, and that there aren't going to be blowouts, but then fault teams for winning by 3 or fewer. It's not a fault thing. And who's the team that you're referring to winning by 3 or fewer? Because my team won by 3 points to the Raiders, and I will fault them because they are way better than that. Like, as a matter of fact, the worst game I've ever seen from the Broncos, they won by 3 points because they have no business hanging around with the Raiders. Like, absolutely no reason that Raiders team, they should have been able to beat that team by 17. Now, I have my own reasons that I suspect that the Broncos played a close game with the Ravens, and I don't think it's because Sean Payton, gave everything he had, to beat the Raiders. I think he was holding back. I don't think the players were, but I think the coaching and the play calling was. Are you talking about Tampa Bay winning by like 3 points? Because there's nothing wrong with winning by 3 points, but it was the same thing with the Broncos, right? They have this amazing 33-point comeback, and that's great. But at the same time, real Bronco fans were thinking, how sustainable is that? You know what I mean? Like, it's not. We're not going to be able to do that again. We're not going to be able to do that again. Like, it's never been done in NFL history for a quarterback to do what Bo Nix did. 2 rushing, and 2 passing touchdowns in one quarter. So there's a fine line between a rut and a groove, right? And the parity is real. And that means that any win is a good win, but not every good win did your team play their best game, right? I think that there are times when, and look, each game has its own story and its own narrative. Like, if you're not trying to like put a story or label a team, like I have no animosity towards any teams in the NFL, really. Like, I was talking to my brother about this the other day because he said yesterday, Dad went to a Dolphins game and he bought a Dolphins t-shirt. And he's like, isn't that like terrible? And I'm like, I don't care. I was like, what do the Dolphins have to do with the Packers? And he's like, oh my God, you don't have a problem with it either? So like, I mean it from the bottom of my heart. Like, when I'm talking about the Bucs or the Eagles or the Cowboys or the Dolphins, like, I don't have a dog in the race. Like, all I care about is my Broncos, and then everybody else. Like, what I'm trying to say is I'm not trying to make a story about anyone. I'm just giving it to you the best way I know how. And it's just what I'm seeing. And like I said, there's times where a team comes out and they just play a really good game of football. They run the ball well, they play great defense. They game plan really well. The red zone defense is amazing. They control time of possession, and they play a good game. And on paper, they're a bad team, but you're only able to win by 3. That's why you have to watch the game. Like, there's a time for that. And those are the type of games where you shouldn't be like, we only won by 3, we suck. That's a time to be like, wow, like that other team played a really good game, but ultimately we're just the better team, so we got it done. Now, the thing is, though, then there's games like the Raiders game where the Raiders didn't play that great of a football game, and we only won by 3. So it's not about how much points you win by. It's about how you play in the games which you only win by 3. Oh, man. And that was tough to see Baker Mayfield. Why would they call that type of a throw when he's already got a hurt arm? We're about to get Perky Baker on the field. If you think the Broncos only beat the Raiders by 3 per choice, that's insane. When the Broncos winning, no, I've been saying this Jinja, are you hammered? I've been saying this entire time that the Broncos win over the Raiders was their worst game I've ever seen in the Bo Nix era. It was atrocious. I have a whole video about it. It's 40 minutes long. It was awful. I don't know how many times I can say it. You're saying that I keep saying that the Broncos win over the Raiders like wasn't bad. It was terrible. Like I said, there's times where a bad team with a bad record plays a very good football game and you're only able to win by 3. And then there's times where a bad team with a bad record plays a bad game and you're only able to win by 3. Those are the disappointing ones. That is what Denver did with the Raiders. They played a bad team who played a bad game, and they still only won by 3. It was a shame. It was their worst game of the season, and they still won it, but it was terrible. And that game is the reason why the next Monday everyone was like overreacting. Like, should Sean draft another quarterback? So, the whole world felt the same after that Raiders game. Like, there was a collective agreement that was the worst game the Broncos have played since maybe the Colts game, like 3 years ago, that Thursday night game that was like 12-9. So I don't know why you keep making it sound like I'm saying two things. Like, I'm saying the same thing with the Broncos. I don't care who it is. Like, if you're playing a terrible team and they come out and they play terrible football, like the Ravens are playing bad football right now. They're getting wins, but it's ugly. It's very ugly. And I said the same thing about the Eagles. Like, they beat the Packers 10-7, and it's like, okay, the Packers are a good football team, so like I'll ignore that one. It's literally the same score as the Broncos Raiders game. Everyone had a problem with it. And then the week after, the Eagles do the same thing and they score like 12 points, and AJ Brown is telling people to drop him on fantasy. He's like making a whole, scene about it. Like, yeah, if you have me on fantasy football, just go ahead and drop me. And it's like, okay, the Philadelphia Eagles, like, their offense, it is a problem. When you're ranked where they're ranked, rushing yards per game, passing yards per game, it's a problem. It's a problem that you can't turn it on. And I've said this before, but that's the difference between Denver and some of these other teams you're talking about. Denver's beaten the best defense in the NFL. They've beaten the best offense in the NFL. They've beaten the Super Bowl champions. They've beaten the Super Bowl representing team in the AFC. So when you've beaten the best offense and the best defense and the team that won the Super Bowl, Denver has shown that they can beat, no matter what team or what style, they can beat you. Whereas the Eagles haven't shown that they can beat a team in a shootout. They haven't shown it this year. And if you're able to play good defense against this team, and you don't have to have great defense. I said good defense because the Eagles aren't that good of an offense this year. So, like, you don't have to have a great defense. Like, look at the Cowboys. The Cowboys defense has been like a joke all year, and the Eagles only scored 21 points on them. And I think they had 21 of those points like in the first quarter. Yeah, they got 14 points in the first quarter, and they scored right away in the second quarter. and they were shut out for the entire second half by the Cowboys. It was obvious that the Eagles were going to, that was going to catch up to them, but based on their record, everybody had them like number 1, number 2 in their power rankings. I don't get it. We got Jacob Chill 381 in the chat. What's up? No problem, man. Always streaming. Baker hurt bad. There are 10 other ones. I'm speaking on the literal 9 one-possession games that they're ahead. Are you talking about the Texans game? What's wrong with winning what's wrong with winning close games? I still don't understand what you're trying to say about the winning close games. And this, I told you this this is me. I said this that the teams are you talking about because at the Atlanta game? Because I don't think that a team like the Colts, are you just suggesting that the Colts played good football against Atlanta? Because I think you and I both know that Atlanta is not a team that Atlanta lost 30-0 to the Panthers. I'm sorry, but like Atlanta's not it. I've watched 5 Atlanta games from start to finish. They're not a good team. They're not. Like, they've been able to pull a couple wins out of their ass. And that's fine. You know what I mean? That they're able to do that once in a while. Like, their one signature win was against Buffalo. But at this point in the season, it's like, okay, was it a fluke? There's no such thing. I do believe in parity. And I do think that an Atlanta team is capable of beating anybody any week. But when you look at their schedule, it's like they lose 30-0 to the Falcons. The Commanders, they almost lost to the Commanders. Marcus Mariota is the quarterback, and they win 34-27 with Marcus Mariota. They beat the Falcons. They lose to the Bucs. And then the Colts game. But the Colts game, I don't have a problem with the Colts for that game. What I said was Jonathan Taylor's not going to run for 244 yards every single week. So it's not something that I believe is repeatable. I actually had money on that game. I was ecstatic when the Colts won, because it would have screwed my whole entire parlay, and this game was at like 8:30 in the morning. So I'm watching it just like, please, 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 because this game, like, there was a play where it was like 3rd and 17, and the Colts needed a touchdown in the fourth quarter. They were down, like, what was it? They were down, I think it was like, I don't know if it was 8 or 7. I think it was 7. But they were, I think, like 40 seconds left in the game, and they were in a 3rd and 17. And Daniel Jones ran and was able to pick it up on his legs. But I was like, oh my God, like, are they about to lose? And remember, at the time of this game, the Falcons were 3-6. Doesn't mean they're a bad team, but the Falcons are different than the Cardinals, who lost all of their games besides one by a margin of 5 or less. You know what I mean? Like, the Falcons, they lost by 24 points to the Dolphins. They lost by 10 points to the 49ers. I have a similar issue with the Patriots right now. Do I think the Patriots are a good team? I do. Do I think people are a little too high on Drake May? I think so. All right. They beat the Falcons by 1 point. They had this win against the Buccaneers that was like, oh, this is our signature win. And it's like, are the Buccaneers that good of a team that you're like, oh, this is a signature win? Because I feel like the Buccaneers, no fault to Baker Mayfield, when you lose Mike Evans and you lose Chris Godwin and you lose Bucky Irving, yeah, your team's not going to be a strong team anymore. I think Baker has been doing his best to kind of hold it together, but you can only hold it together for so long until this stuff starts to catch up to you. And it was happening to the 49ers as well. They're starting to get players back. They got Ricky Pearsall back. It looks like they're going to get Brock Purdy back here. And it got to the same point where it's like, hey, these injuries are finally taking a toll on the 49ers. They lost to the Buccaneers. They beat the Falcons by 10. But then they go on the road and lose to the Texans. And like I said, everyone had a problem with our win over the Texans. Anybody that wins against the Texans is a good win. And I don't care if you beat the Texans by 1 point or 3 points. I will never say that a team that beats the Texans didn't beat the Texans by enough points because they're the best defense in the NFL. If it's not us, it's the Texans. So, yeah, I mean, if you're playing the best offense in the NFL, the best defense in the NFL, these are like certain games. There's certain teams where how many points you beat them by doesn't really matter, and it's not something I'm particularly obsessed with either. Only when it becomes a trend. Like when we played the Bengals, it was the most lopsided game as total yardage. Like we had 500 yards of offense. They didn't run a single play on our side of the 50. That's how I expect a really good team to play. Now, if we played the Bengals closely and like squeaked it out at the end, yeah, I would be concerned with that. I wouldn't be like, oh, that's parity, because there's a difference between parity and no, there's still 10 teams. I mean, parity is definitely a real thing, but that doesn't mean that there's not 5 teams that exist that are not good right now. The Saints are one of them. If you go out against the Saints and you're struggling to beat the Saints, and then you do it to the Bengals, and then the Jets, it's like, yeah, eventually, if it's a trend, I would be concerned no matter who the team is, if they're supposed to be a really good team. But overall, like, your Panthers, your Bills, your Dolphins, your Bucs, I think these are all teams that I don't care if you win by 1, 2, or 3, a win is a win. But with that, the bad teams, which there's only like 4 or 5 of, those teams are still teams that you want to see your team maybe not dominate, but not win by 1, 2, or 3. And if you did, you wonder, like, okay, if you're watching the game, like, did the other team just play really well, or are we playing down to our opponent? And I'll say with the exception of rivalry games, because those tend to be close for no reason. Teams are irrelevant if you're going to spit it. When Flacco spins it against the Broncos, you're making him look good. That's a trend. Flacco. We haven't played Joe Flacco. Every team in the league is your rivalry game. Flacco. We haven't. What are you talking about? We haven't played Joe Flacco. I still don't even know, like, you still haven't said. I don't know if you're avoiding it or if you just don't remember, but you still haven't even said like what you're even referring to. You just started yelling at me about being consistent without even telling me what I said that you didn't like. I mean, that's usually the starting point, is like, hey, you said this and I didn't agree with it. So then there's like a starting threshold. You just started saying that I'm not consistent. I not sure what you're referring to because you never told me. I'm still open if you want to put it in the chat. I have no idea what you're talking about. Because now you're saying that's what I've said. You're like, literally, that's what I was saying all throughout. Well, I can tell you, I haven't changed my position on anything during this conversation. So it sounds like you agree with something I'm saying. It was about teams having easy schedules and there's not an easy game. Then you went straight to the Broncos blinders, man. How do you not see it? Teams having easy schedules. Are you talking about the Patriots? Who are you talking about? Because I only mentioned strength of schedule one time, and it was about the Patriots. Which is funny because when I logged on, Rick was logging off, and he told me that you said that you weren't sure about Drake May because he hasn't played anybody. And I was like, oh, I agree with that. So I brought it up, and now you're arguing with me about your own point that Rick told me you made earlier today, which was funny because I was like, yeah, it's crazy. The Patriots have had an easy schedule. It's actually like objectively true. It's not even a opinion. Like when you look at a schedule and you see Bills, Eagles, Chiefs, Chargers, Broncos, Eagles, Cowboys, Chargers, and you look at a schedule and see Saints, Vikings, Dolphins, Panthers, Falcons, Saints, Cardinals. Like, yeah, there's definitely parity in the NFL, but that doesn't mean there's not an easy and a difficult. Like there's still strength of schedule is still an existing thing. It just means that you can't take one game and rewrite other games because of it. Like I can't go back and be like, oh well, when the Broncos played the Colts week 2, they actually were playing a 8-2 team because really they were playing a 1-0 team. You know what I mean? Like none of them are easy. Well, if you're playing a team that doesn't have a franchise quarterback, It's definitely easier than playing Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. It's I can't believe that that's even something that holy crap. Actually, the top 14 the top 14 picks in the 2026 NFL draft have all played the Patriots. It's the Tennessee Titans, the Giants, the Cleveland Browns, the New Orleans Saints, the New York Jets, the Raiders, the Commanders, Atlanta, the Bengals, Arizona, Miami, Minnesota are the top 12 picks in the draft. There's 7 teams in the NFL that have 3 wins or less, and only one of those teams has 3 wins. So there's 6 teams in the NFL that have 2 wins or 1. 6 teams. So Miami's not one of those teams. Like I said in my video, when Miami beats the Bills, the question's not what happened to the Bills. Miami's a legit football team, as is Dallas, as is Baltimore. That's why Dallas beat Philly today. That's why Baltimore is going to be in the playoffs. But if you're telling me like the Giants right now without Dart, when Dart comes back, the Giants are actually a really tough team. And they're not even a reflection of the record because Dart's only played 5 games with the Giants. He hasn't played 11 games. Cleveland, they're a bad team. They're 2-8. Like if the Colts went out and lost to the Cleveland Browns, I would be like, wow. The Colts are starting to fall apart. Now, it could happen. Like, Cleveland's got, weirdly enough, both their wins are against good teams, but then they like get blown out by bad teams. The Saints have 2 wins. They've changed quarterbacks. Like the consistent theme, pretty much. The Jets, the Cleveland Browns, the New Orleans Saints, the Raiders. These are all teams that need a quarterback. And then there's one team really in the bottom 7 that has a quarterback. We think, Tennessee with Cam Ward, but still, like, everything else around is broken. Everything around Tennessee is broken. And it's going to take a while to rebuild that team. Who's now 1-9. So defend your Titans statement in the year when the Broncos barely beat them. Titans are legit. I can't. That's okay. It was week 1. I had week 1. I had 1 week of data. Like, you're going to hold me accountable week 12 for something that I thought week 1? That's not a gotcha. Like, yeah, it was week 1. I don't understand how you could even think that was a gotcha. I thought Tennessee was going to be a better team this year. You got me. They weren't. It's okay. I'm not right 100% of the time. I don't claim to be. I'm not sure. every week of teams being good versus not being good. Schedule is a thing. It's not about gotcha. It's every week of teams being good versus not good. You didn't say that when they played the Broncos well. Yeah, because it was week 1. It was if you would have told me to predict after the Broncos game, I mean, and the same thing happens every year. Like the Patriots, didn't they win 2 games last year, and like one of them was against the Bengals week 1? I mean, is week 1 not the weirdest week every single year? And we didn't even lose that game. But I still took the bait and didn't realize, that was just going to be something we looked back on as a oh, okay, so the Broncos just struggled in that game. That's okay. Honestly, like I don't really care what happened week 1 in an ugly win. I care how my team looks going into December and how they play in November. I mean, if the Chiefs win out, it's not going to matter that they were 5-5. No one's going to care about that. And they're going to be the favorite to go to the Super Bowl. So I've been saying this all night. It doesn't matter how good you played. It doesn't matter how good you are today. Every team is 1 month away from being in a crisis or being one of the best teams in the NFL. And that's just the way it is. If you win 4 games in a row and those 4 opponents are really tough, people are going to look at you a lot different. And that's the way it's going to be for Houston. They play the Colts, and I think they play the Chiefs after that. Yeah. I mean, if the Texans beat the Colts and then beat the Chiefs and then the Cardinals and the Raiders and Chargers, like everyone's going to be like, oh, the Texans are legit. And on the flip side, like if they lose to the Colts and they lose to the Chiefs, everyone's going to be like, the Texans suck. And then they can still be a 10-win team if they win out. All they have to do is beat the Colts week 18 and then handle the Chargers, Cardinals, and Raiders. And then they too would be a 10-win team, and they would have won 4 in a row, which is a month. So like the Texans can lose to the Colts and Chiefs and then have a really good month and be a team that people are betting on to win a playoff game. So it's all about how you finish, and looking back on it, I didn't think the Colts were going to be an 8-2 team when we played them week 2 either. Since we're taking an inventory of every wrong thing I've thought, when the Colts game happened, I thought to myself, how could we have played? Actually, I was more upset about the penalty because I felt like we won that game, and I felt like that was objectively bullshit because we could see that exact motion, and you've said it yourself. You're like, this is the only time I'm going to bring it up, so I know you feel the same way. But I still felt after that game like, how did we just lose to the Colts? And then by week 8, you get context and you look back on that game and you go, hey, actually that loss, which barely, was a weird logistical thing, that doesn't look so bad anymore. It looked like the sky was falling week 2 because people were upset about the Titans game, and then the Colts game happened, and it was like, what are we, like, who are we? Are we going to be a bad team? And now this team would go on to lose the next week against the Chargers. So they're 1-2, and it's like the sky's falling, and the team hasn't lost since. So yeah, I mean, I didn't have context about the Colts game either. Are we going to include that one? I mean, you didn't either. You didn't think the Colts were going to be 8-2. I know you didn't. With 9 one-possession wins. This year, the Chiefs were lucky. Last year, the Chiefs were lucky. Ginger, you're hammered. I have no idea what you're talking about. The Chiefs did flip. That's why they're 500. And check the board. I'm pretty sure we beat the Cowboys by 20 points. I'm pretty sure that happened. I'm pretty sure we beat the Bengals by 25 points. And we beat the Chiefs last week. Something the Colts couldn't do today. Oh my God. It's so weird that we were talking about Teddy Bridgewater. And Teddy Bridgewater comes out tonight. I feel like I did this to Teddy Bridgewater. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Baker Mayfield, doubtful to return Sunday night. Shut up. Shut up. Baker Mayfield, doubtful to return Sunday night after suffering left shoulder injury in the first half. Mayfield went into the blue medical tent on the visitor sideline, moments favoring his non-throwing arm after he threw a touchdown to receiver Tez Johnson. Mayfield, back out on the field for the Buccaneers' ensuing possession, heaved a pass with all of his might on the final play, and the ball fell incomplete. Mayfield went down on a knee in clear pain. They didn't include the fact that Baker threw it with all of his might, and it only went like 35, 40 yards. Like, he did not. Baker's a gunslinger. That was not his best throw. The Rams led 31-7 when the Buccaneers announced Mayfield was doubtful to return, and Teddy Bridgewater took over under center in the third quarter for Tampa. Through a half, Mayfield was 9 for 19, 41 yards, a touchdown, 2 picks. He also ran 4 times for 19 yards. Considering the lopsided nature of the score would be so yeah, I guess him returning is going to be, I don't know if it's like he could have returned if the game was closer, or if he's would have been done, regardless of how close this game was. It's kind of weird because Baker was like, oh, he's the front runner for MVP. And now all of a sudden it's like Drake May kind of becomes like, you lose the Baker Mayfield, you lose Josh Allen in the last couple of weeks. You lose Mahomes with, Bo Nix out playing him in Denver. And it's like, all right, who's the MVP? Is it Jonathan Taylor? Is that your MVP? Are we giving it to a running back? Like, because I think it's going to go to Matthew Stafford. And what an incredible accomplishment for Matthew Stafford at his age to win MVP. He's 37 years old. And the oldest quarterback to win MVP, Tom Brady, who was 40 years old when he won MVP. And Tom Brady won his third MVP during the 2017 season with the Patriots. Wow. Aaron Rodgers won it at 38 years old. That's crazy. Aaron Rodgers won it at 38 years old and at 37. Manning won it at 37. And Matthew Stafford would join the 37 club with Aaron Rodgers and Peyton Manning. It's crazy because, like, all these quarterbacks from the 90s, like Joe Montana is the only one that won an MVP past 34 years old, and he was 34. It just wasn't a common thing. And now you get to the 2010 quarterbacks, and you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 quarterback: Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning, and maybe Matthew Stafford this year. You got 4 over the age of 37. In the 90s, you didn't have 1 over the age of 34. So it is these new rules, man. They're making a difference. They're making a big difference. Stafford in shotgun, second 16. Parkinson. No, that's Allen. 5 minutes to go in the third quarter, 31-7. This is turning into a lopsided game. Crafty has tonight produced our first Super Bowl favorite of the year. Well, funny you asked that, Crafty, because I got something to show you. No, not anymore. Not since you called me out on it. All right, so the season started September. Was it September? What was it? September 12th? No, that was week 3. Oh, this is my favorite. Okay. So this is 1 second. This was
Wow, no one has no way.
August 31st. Nick is really bad at evaluating quarterback performance. Nick was a rookie last year, so it makes sense. He was outperformed by players like Burrow, Lamar, Herbert. I would include Mahomes, but a blocked field goal cost the Broncos winning that game, not Mahomes himself. Are you ignoring everything coming out of Denver's camp that says Nick is ahead of where he was last year? Yada, yada, yada. And this is what he said.
No, oh my gosh. Did you see all the starting quarterbacks they beat last year? 2. They beat 2 quarterbacks all last year who are still starters. Baker, who's really good, and Aaron, who's really old. They played 7 games against teams that were either AFC playoff teams or the Bengals, who were right there for it. 0-7. We're now 1-7 if you include beating the Chiefs backups, which they beat them so soundly that all of a sudden their point differential numbers are like, oh, wow, look at how dominant the Broncos were. That 38-0 victory is doing a lot of work. But they were peaking at the end of the year, right? Well, the very end of the year, they got absolutely curb stomped by a real contender that I'm now told they're on par with this year in the Buffalo Bills. Someone's got to finish last. That is last. Wow, no one has no way. No. Oh.
Then the Chargers finished 3rd. The Raiders finished 2nd. And the Chiefs, of course, finished 1st. But that's not the crazy thing I wanted to show you. The crazy thing I wanted to show you was we're getting warmer. Now this is officially August 15th. Man. Birthday. I got socks. Zach Allen. We're in June. Chiefs Broncos announced on Christmas. Oh, you know what? It's because I posted it on YouTube.
Right now, we're in such a...
I posted it on YouTube. Only Football Podcast. Boom. Post. This will be a lot shorter. We don't post as much here. The short-term goal is winning the division, but this is a team capable of winning the Super Bowl. I've coached 6 teams that I thought could win the Super Bowl. All right, it's right around here. There it is. There it is. Kyle thinking, Darren, my surprise is blown. I wish. Nick wrong blamed the Chiefs' loss to Denver on the Chiefs' defense. Oh my God, my back. Oh, from carrying the team. Look at this. 3 months ago. Look, this is who will win the NFC West. The season hasn't started yet. This was the comments Sean Payton made about the expectations for Denver in 2025. And this was what I I posted. I created this all on my own. Broncos Rams. I felt coming in, I was like, yeah, with the Devontae Adams trade, that was kind of the icing on the cake. And I really felt like Jared Verse was going to win Defensive Player of the Year. And I got to say, like, it's a totally normal thing to get to the end of November and look at your Super Bowl prediction and just laugh and be like, oh my God, this is hilarious. And I remember this time last year, it was like there was a lot of hope. Like, gosh, I hope this team can pull it together. But like the safe bet would have been either Baltimore or Buffalo. It wasn't Kansas City, but like Baltimore or Buffalo to go to the Super Bowl was probably a safe bet. And I think the Eagles were pretty much the front runner. It was like with Saquon running the ball, they were throwing the ball, as much not as well by any means. Not as well. I mean, they're equally as bad, if that makes sense. But they were running the football so well, and their defense was playing so well that it's like, okay, if you have a top offensive line, a top defensive line, and you're holding your opponents to no yards at all on defense, and you can run the football, a running game and a defense is a great combination. That's why I thought the Colts were smart to go after Sauce Gardner, because it's like you got the running game, but your defense is not where it needs to be. Now, if that defense even flirts with top 5 and Daniel Jones can keep it together, like that's a team that could go to the Super Bowl. So I liked the addition of Sauce Gardner. But I think I look back now and I'm like, my one question for the Rams, I don't have any questions. Like the way they are right now, I think that they're the Super Bowl front runner for the NFC. For the Broncos, my one question is J.K. Dobbins getting hurt. I'm like, what? I mean, are we going to throw it more? Like who's going to fill that role? Running the football. What is our running game going to look like? These are questions that I do have. So, we'll see. We'll see what comes of it next week when we come out of the bye. I think last year we came out of the bye. We came out of the bye slow and we start the season slow every year. And then we play really good in October and November. And then we usually lose a couple close ones against good teams in December, like the Bengals. The real test is going to be can we continue to win those type of games when we played the Chiefs on Christmas? Can we sweep the Chiefs? Can we beat the Chargers, who will be playing for the playoffs? Can we take care of the Packers in Denver? These are going to be all right, what are we? Are we an 11-win team or are we a 13-win team? I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. But if the playoffs run through Denver, I like that with this defense. I mean, you're asking the Broncos offense, hey, can you go score 17 points and win an 18-13 type of game? And it's yeah, I think we could do that without a running game. And that's the thing, your defense gives you an opportunity to kind of overcome some of your deficiencies on offense. But we'll see. RJ Harvey could break out. He's going to have an opportunity, and we'll see what he does with it. But if you got RJ Harvey and on your fantasy football team, like, there's some real upside. And that was just a smart draft pick, knowing J.K. Dobbins just can't stay healthy for a full season. Dude, I love this new setup. It feels so like just clean and open. And now that I'm getting used to looking at it, it's starting to grow on me. The one thing is, though, does it seem like a little angled? Yeah, because the Woody picture should be. There we go. Nick Wrong blamed the Chiefs' loss to Denver on the Chiefs' defense. Well, you mean like instead of blaming it on Mahomes going up against our defense? Like, he didn't want to give credit to the Broncos defense? That's interesting. Considering everybody knows that the Broncos defense is the best in the league next to the Texans. It's like 1A and 1B. So weird that he would make it about the Chiefs defense. Oh, yeah, I remember. I watched that because he was like, because he's like, they had him in 3rd and 17 and 3rd and long, and all year he hasn't been able to, be this guy, and they made him look like a good quarterback, because that's what they do. But it's like they're going to continue to do that every week. Because the thing is like everybody was saying going into that game, like, if Denver beats Kansas City, including me, I was like, if Denver beats Kansas City, like, the narrative goes away. There's nothing more they can say. It is over, finished, cannot be resuscitated. It will die. The narratives will be gone. And then Denver got the win, and then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, but Kansas City's like 5-5. Like, how good is Kansas City? And I'm like, oh my God, it just keeps going. There really isn't anything you can do. like I said, you can beat the best offense in the league, the best defense. You can beat the Super Bowl winner. You can beat the team that played the Super Bowl winner. You can beat the reigning AFC West champions. And ultimately, like, it just really just doesn't matter. Like, they'll just continue to find something wrong. And that's okay. You know what I mean? Because they don't control the game. Why do I care if other people think my team is good? And I'll be honest, really the only reason is because it's entertaining to watch people on national television talk about my team. Like, I just like the spotlight. I like to be able to turn on ESPN and hear them talking about my team. But if everybody and their mother thinks that our team's fake or frauds, then you don't get the spotlight. And I think it's fun. But the other part of it is, like, if everyone agrees that they're good, they're not going to get the spotlight because there's going to be nothing to talk about, because it's like everyone knows they're good. So there's no debate. I feel like Denver is in that sweet spot right now where they're like one of the most debated teams in the league, because there could be somebody at the table that is like, they should be everyone's Super Bowl favorite. And there'll be someone at the table that's like, I'm not sold because of one good game. And everybody has a voice. Everybody has, an opinion. And as long as they don't go back and, create a bunch of bullshit in order to have their opinions, I don't have a problem with it. Like, as long as your opinion isn't like what they did, with the Giants game, where it's like, oh, they struggled to beat a 2-8 team. And it's like, and I mentioned it in that video. It's like, okay, coming home from an international game, not getting a bye week. The Giants have 10 days of rest after beating the Eagles. I mean, beating the crap out of the Eagles. And then beating the Chargers 2 weeks before that. In Jackson Dart's first 3 starts, he beat the Chargers and the Eagles. 10 days of rest. Denver home from international. 6 days of rest. Go right into a game against the Giants. And played, slept through the first 3 quarters, woke up in the fourth, won the game. And then they go back and they're like, Denver struggled with the 2-8 Giants team. It's like, yeah, they weren't 2-8 when we played them. They were really, if you want to really call a spade, like, they were 2-1 because Jackson Dart had only played 3 games. Denver sent them to 2-2, but we played a 2-1 team with 2 of those wins being over the Eagles and Chargers. That's who we played. And after that game, Scatterbo, after the Broncos game, Scatterbo broke his leg, and then Dart dealt with injuries. And I can't speak on what happened from after the Broncos game till now because it's irrelevant. But a lot of times people will take who a team is at week 15 and they'll say that that's the team you played. And it's like, no, when we played that team, the Bucs were 4-0. Mike Evans was playing. Bucky Irving was playing. And it's a completely different team because, week to week, rosters there's so much turnover. There's so much injuries, and especially this time of year, where you really can't just look at a team and be like, okay, I'm going to use post-nut clarity to, assign post-nut clarity on all 32 teams to games that happened week 3 and week 7 and week 5. Aaron Donald in the house today, holding a future Hall of Famer in his kid. Jared Verse off-season workout with Aaron Donald. Dude, Aaron Donald looks so jacked. The Rams got it. They have everything that you need to be a Super Bowl team. I have so much clarity right now. He said something along the lines that the D failed to bring out Bo's bad side. Yeah, Denver's beating both teams from last year's Super Bowl is a pretty standout feat. And yet, it's not good enough. But I think they'll win their next 2 games against the Commanders and Raiders. And then after the Commanders and Raiders, it gets tough for the rest of the season. It's going to be the Packers. So it's Commanders, Raiders, and then it's Packers, Chiefs, and one more tough team. Packers, Chiefs. Who's the other team? I wanted to think of it without looking it up. We played the entire NFC West. We're playing the Packers. That's the only team from that division we're playing. Oh, the Jaguars. Yeah, that's a tough team too. So, like, Jaguars, Packers, Chargers, Chiefs. That's our last 4 games. So you talk about a team that is potentially going to be 11-2. 11-2 by December 7th. And that pretty much almost, it's guaranteed they're a playoff team at that point. But the question is, what happens in that 4-game stretch? Do they go 4-0? Like, what if they go 4-0? And it's like, whoa, what happened? What do you mean? The Broncos went 15-2. Or do they go 1-3 and they're a 12-5 team? And you get into the playoffs, but you don't feel great. And that's what's interesting too, is like the Chargers I believe the Chargers are trying to win the division still, where the Chiefs, I feel like it's gotten too far away. Because if they win out all of their games, right, they only get to, they have 6 games left, right? And they have 6 games left, and right now they have 6 wins. So they could get to 12 wins. They would be 12-5 if they won out, which would mean Denver would only need to win, I guess, 2 of those 4 games to win the division. But the Chiefs have to play the Cowboys, the Texans, the Chargers, and the Broncos. One of those teams beats the Chiefs, and Denver essentially only needs to win 12 games to make sure the Chiefs, because then the Chiefs win out and they only win 11 games. So then we would need 12 games, which means the Raiders and Commanders would both need to be wins. That would take us to 11. And then we would just need to win 1 game between the Chiefs, Chargers, Jags, and Packers. And 3 of them are in Denver, where we haven't lost a game since 2024. Here's Bridgewater. Good shot. Downfield. But like I said, it seems like a long shot. Chiefs on the road versus Dallas on Thanksgiving. I'm hoping Dallas can pull it off. I'm hoping they can. I think they can. After beating the Eagles, maybe they get some good vibes going. And it's also a big thing because if Dallas wins their next 2 games and the Eagles kind of hit a wall, the Cowboys can still win their division, which is crazy to say, but the Eagles are 8-3, yes, and the Cowboys are 3 games back. But let's say the Cowboys win, and remember they have the tie, so they're not 3 games back, but they're, what is it, 2.5? I don't know how that works, but let's just say they're 2 games back for now. Okay? Because I think if the Eagles lost 2 games and they were 8-5, and the Cowboys won 2 games and they were 7-5-1, I think the tie would be better than being, like, I think being 7-5-1 would be better than being 8-5. I'm gonna look it up. In the NFL, an 8-5 record is better than 7-5-1 because it has more wins, and the extra win is more valuable than the tie. An 8-5 record has 8 wins, while 7-5-1 has 7 wins and 1 tie. Okay. Here's the question. This was 3 years ago. Why are the Seahawks, who are 7-5, the 7th seed, above the 8th seed Commanders, who are 7-5-1, if a tie is a half a win? So the 8th seed Commanders were 7-5-1, and the Seahawks were 7-5. The question is, why are the Seahawks higher than the team with the tie? Win percentage: Seattle has played 12 games. Washington has played 13 games. Okay. Because while a tie is half a win, it's also half a loss. It's not the number of wins that determines seeding. It's win percentage. In terms of win percentage, each win is 1.000. Each loss is 0.000. Each tie is counted as 500. A 7-5 record is a 0.583 win percentage. So a tie actually brings that average slightly down to 0.577 because 500 is less than 0.583. So that makes the most sense right there. Dallas not out of the playoff race. Not at all. Not at all. But they are. So it's really hard to say. They're two. The win percentage for the Eagles is 0.727. The Cowboys are 500 exactly. They're 5-5-1, which is 500. So they're back by 2 games, and if 500 is 500 is let's just say to make it easy, they're about 2.5 games back. They're 2.5 games back. Okay. I can't figure this out right now. What I really want to know is do the Cowboys they need to have the same amount do they need to have more wins? Because my question is, no, I was going to say, if the Eagles were 12-5 and the Cowboys were 11-5-1, the Eagles would have the better record. But if the Eagles were 11-6 and the Cowboys were 11-5-1, then the Cowboys would have the better record. So then the tie would help them. But if they have the same amount, yeah. So if that's the thing. So let's say they need to pick up 3 wins on the Eagles. And today was a big turn of events because the Eagles could have gone to 9-2 and the Cowboys would have gone to 4-6 and it would have been a 5-game difference. But now, it's a two-way swing. It's like a pick six. Not only it's like a pick six when you're on the 1-yard line about to score a touchdown. It's like not only did you stop them from scoring 7, but then you scored 7. It's a 14-point swing. That's why these divisional games are so important. So let's just say that the Eagles are ahead by 3 games. Do you see 3 losses left on their schedule? They have the Bills, they have the Chargers, and that's it. Like, they have the Bears. I don't know how you guys feel about the Bears, but also I don't feel that great about the Eagles. So I don't know. Like, this is where the parity comes in because I think that there's a handful of teams that are kind of in this zone, like the Steelers, the Ravens, the Chiefs, the Bears, the Eagles, and the Packers, and the Buccaneers. And that's like that's it. That's my group of, like, I don't know, might be good. Definitely aren't average. Somewhere in the middle of those two things. Like, definitely better than average. And I don't know, they might be good. So the Bears and Eagles are going to play on Black Friday. And that game is at 2 p.m. And I think that game's going to be interesting because for the Bears, it's like an opportunity for them to be like, we're planting our flag. We haven't played the best opponents. We were going to lose to the Giants until Dark got hurt. Then today, we were able to beat the Steelers, but of course they had their backup quarterback in. Like, we don't want any astrophy next to our victories. And the Eagles game is going to be tough because they're going to be mad about the Cowboys game. But again, I said this going into the Eagles game because I was game planning for the Eagles, and I remember like writing about the Eagles, and I was like, this is kind of mind blowing. And this was at my sister's wedding. We got home that night, and everyone's outside on the balcony of the Airbnb having drinks. And I went out there, and I was like, totally like had this look on my face, and I was like, what? And I'm like, I don't think the Eagles are that good. And they're like, what are you talking about? They're, the Super Bowl defending champions. They're undefeated. They haven't lost a game yet. They're the best team in the NFL. And that was like something that I just couldn't get with. And trying to see where I posted it. Where did I post it? I remember, too, by October 12th, and that was only a little over a month ago, the Broncos were the only AFC team that was above 500 to play more road games than home games through the first 6 weeks. And that's significant because Denver plays 7 of their final 11 games at home, where they haven't lost since week 6 of 2024, the longest home win streak in the league, which is why that's such a big deal. But I remember writing about the Philadelphia Eagles, and I had like a long post, and I guess I never posted it. I just wrote it. That's crazy. It's in my phone, but I definitely wrote about this. And it was about the Philadelphia Eagles and how they have the 30. Oh, you know what? I bet I sent it to myself on Facebook. And you'll see like why I'm bringing this up in a second, because let's see. November 2nd, October 30th, October 20th. Here it is. The Titans beat the Raiders by 7. Oh, that was Rick's prediction. The Panthers. Dang, I guess I never sent it to myself. But the whole point of the video was showing like how the Eagles are in trouble, because I couldn't figure out how they were winning games up until week 5 when we played them and beat them. They were undefeated, but they were ranked 31st in rushing yards per game. And I'm like, okay, so surely then they're having success passing the ball. And I even went back and I looked. I'm like, let me just take week 4 as a sample size. And I looked at week 4 and I'm like, okay, out of the 10 teams that ran the ball for the fewest amount of yards, how many teams won? And I looked. So week 4, I go to running yards per game and I organize it. by amount. I go down to the very bottom, and it's like these are the teams that had the fewest amount of rushing yards. And I take the bottom 10. 7 of those teams lost. There was only 3 teams that won. And the 3 teams that won, they actually had they were all top 10 in passing yards. So it was kind of like, okay, they can't run the football, so they passed the football. Now, there was like an anomaly with the Eagles because they were the only team that was bottom 10 in rushing yards and won, but also weren't top 10 in passing yards either. And it was like, how are they winning? You know what I mean? Like they're not running the football and they're not passing the football. So how are they getting it done? And that's what kind of started this whole thing, because I went to 2024 and Philadelphia has 184 rushing yards per game. 184 per game is pretty insane. Their last 3 games that season, they averaged 216 rushing yards per game. That's absolutely bonkers. That's insane. Okay. This year, though, the Eagles are 21st at this point in the season, 110 rushing yards per game. They had 63 rushing yards today. Typically, when the Eagles lose, it's because they didn't run the football. That was the common theme in the Eagles losing back-to-back weeks to the Broncos and then to the Giants, was like the only games all season that Saquon Barkley had less than 12 carries, and they lost both of them. And then today, the Eagles have only 63 yards, and they lose. So, like, the way to play the Eagles is to play the run and be like, no, I want you to beat me passing the football. We're going to stop the run, and we're going to see if you can beat us with your arm. Now, Denver, like, that was their game plan, and the Eagles only gave the ball to Barkley 6 times. Like, how does he... That was their answer to us saying, we're going to play the run. They're like, well, we won't call it then. But the problem is, when it comes to passing the ball, they can't do it. I mean, passing attempts per game, Philadelphia is 28th with 28 passing attempts per game. And so it's like they're not running the ball. They're not passing it. They're not attempting. Now, rushing attempts per game, Philadelphia is 9th in the league, 28. So they average 28 rushing plays and 28 passing plays per game. But what's weird is the Giants, Seattle, Chicago, Buffalo, Jacksonville, Green Bay, New England, and Carolina are the only teams, that's 8 teams ahead of Philly. And these are teams, Liam Cohen, with Jacksonville, he took the Tampa Bay Bucs from the 31st ranked rushing offense to the number 3 rushing offense with Bucky Irving. That's what Liam Cohen does. And then last year, Jacksonville was 31st, and now they're top 5. Like, that's the Liam Cohen effect. Green Bay, that's just what they do. They're very balanced. But Philly's going with this balanced approach, like these other teams. The problem is they're not having success running the football. Like, Chicago's number 2, Buffalo's number 1, Detroit's number 3, the Colts are 4, Washington's 5, Baltimore's 6, then the Jets, then Jacksonville, Carolina, the Giants, right? So those are all the teams that I just said leading the NFL in rushing attempts. Now, all of those teams are top 10 in rushing yards per game. They're top 5 in their top 9. We'll just call it top 10. top 10 in rushing attempts are the same teams that are top 10 in rushing yards. But the problem is that the Eagles are top 10 in rushing attempts, but they're 21st in rushing yards. So all these teams that are running the football the most as far as attempts, calling run plays, they're actually having success. Besides the Eagles, they're the only team that's like sticking to the run, but it's not getting them the yards that these other teams that are calling runs as much as the Eagles are doing, which is very interesting. I mean, they're barely over 100 rushing yards per game, and they're at 110, and I would probably guess that that's because of Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley. I don't think he even averages 100 rushing yards per game. Dallas are not out of the playoff race. If I don't love you like that, I don't accept your sentiment. If I don't love you like that, I don't accept your sentiment. Is that a song or something? I don't. So that's pretty much I mean, look, it's a good way to travel going from the 31st rushing offense in the league to 21. It's better than being at 31. I mean, you got teams, the Saints, the Bengals, the Raiders, the Titans, Cleveland. These are 5 teams that are Cincinnati. Let me pull it up right now. And this is crazy because this is the let me share my screen really quick. Not that one, this one. Tankathon. Okay, so this right now is the current draft order as we sit here. So you got New England 32nd, the Rams 31st, Denver 30th, Philadelphia 29th. The Colts traded their pick to the Jets. And then Jacksonville traded their pick to Cleveland to get Travis Hunter. So the Colts, do the Colts not have, I guess they don't have a first round pick next year? One second. There you go. Okay. So you look at these teams on this list, right? You got Tennessee, the Giants, New Orleans, and the Jets. The team ranked 32nd, 32 out of 32 teams in the NFL, the Tennessee Titans. The Tennessee Titans are the 32nd ranked team in rushing yards per game. They're running the football 77 yards per game. That's crazy bad. Okay? In 2024, the Raiders were the worst rushing team in the NFL. They ran 79 yards per game. The 31st ranked team was running 91 yards per game. So it's a pretty big difference. Usually it's like each ranking's like 100, 101, 112, 13, 14, 15, 17. That's how you know it's bad, is like when you're 11 yards behind the 31st ranked rushing team. And last year that was the Raiders. And we saw what that did to the Raiders last year, where they drafted they drafted Genty at, what was it, 4 overall? Where was Genty drafted? Was it first round? 6th overall. All right. So last year, you had the Raiders, worst team in the league running the football, drafting 6th overall. This year, Tennessee's the worst, and the Raiders are 2nd worst, and they're at 79. So it's crazy because like the Raiders last year were the only team that was in the 70s. 31 was all the way up to 91. But this year, Tennessee is also in the 70s, and the Raiders are still in the 70s. So now we have 2 teams running the football 77.5 yards per game. The Raiders are 79.5 yards per game. And look, Tennessee, the worst team in the league with a 1-10 record. And then the Raiders are at pick 5 again with a 2-9 record. Cincinnati's 30th, 84 rushing yards per game. There's Cincinnati, the number 8 spot, 3-8. Then you get New Orleans, 29th in the NFL rushing yards. There's New Orleans, 3rd pick in the draft at 2-9. Okay, then after then you got Cleveland. Yep, there's Cleveland, 3-8, 94. Pittsburgh, 97. And Arizona, 101, just barely cracking 100. And Arizona's a top 10 pick as well. Then you got Minnesota, and Minnesota is 12. Houston, 23, and Houston 17. Tampa Bay, 22nd at 110. Tampa Bay's 20th. Philadelphia, 21. But wait a second. Philadelphia. So all these teams that are 22nd to 32nd in rushing yards per game are between 20th in number 1 pick, with the exception of Philly, who is all the way down here at 29 with an 8-3 record. So there is this common theme that if you can't run the football, now you can be mediocre at it, and even where Philly is, I guess that's the line where it stops mattering. But if you're going to be the bottom 3 in the NFL, Cincinnati, the Raiders, and Tennessee, in New Orleans. Cincinnati, the Raiders, Tennessee, New Orleans. I mean, Cincinnati, Tennessee, the Raiders, and New Orleans all have 1, 2, or 3 wins. They're either 1-10, 2-10, or 3-8. So if you ever doubted how important running the football is, there it is. I mean, that's how important running the ball is. You're going to, if you're going to be one of the worst running teams, you're going to have a top draft pick. The weird thing is Philly went from averaging over 200 yards rushing in their last 3 games last year to being this like mediocre team at running, and having multiple games where, like, on the road this year, Philadelphia averages 83 rushing yards on the road. And it's because teams are just playing the run, and then they're daring Jalen Hurts to throw the ball. And like I said, all of the teams in the top 10 in rushing attempts are also top 10 in rushing yards, except for the Philadelphia Eagles, who are all the way down to 21. So it's not that the Eagles aren't giving Saquon the same opportunities he was given last year. It's that those holes no longer exist. And they're not as efficient as running the football this year. And this year, so I don't know how the Eagles can make it to the Super Bowl this year. Saquon Barkley is averaging 3.8 yards per carry this season. 3.8 yards per carry. Last year, he averaged 5.8 yards per carry and had over 2,000 yards. 3.8 yards. And this year, he's averaging per game in 2025. This year, he has 662 rushing yards so far this year, which equals out to, would that be 85 rushing yards per game? Let's see. He's played 11 games. So you take rushing yards, 62. He's averaging 62 rushing yards per game. Saquon Barkley? That's insane. So Saquon Barkley, I feel like I've learned so much. I don't even, and I'm going to make sure I write it down too. Saquon Barkley averaging 62.2 rushing yards per game, 3.8 yards per carry. The Eagles are the only team every team that's top 10 in rushing attempts is also top 10 in rushing yards, except the Eagles, who are 21st in rushing yards per game. The Eagles are continuing to run the football, but they're just not efficient this season. Here. They're not efficient, and that's what's going to catch up to them because they don't have the type of passing game that is going to be able to sustain them while they have a bad rushing game. 1 second. You hear it? Huh? Maybe. Do you want to just wait outside then, if you're worried about that? Oh, I hear.
Thank you. Well, they're loud now. Thank you.
All right. But the Eagles simply just don't have the passing game. Passing attempts, Philadelphia, 28th. 28 passing attempts. You got teams, I mean, like Arizona, Cincinnati. I mean, we talked about those teams that are in the very bottom of rushing yards per game. Cincinnati, New Orleans, Tennessee. These teams are all top 10 in passing attempts because they don't have success running the ball, so they pass the ball. And for most of the game, they play from behind. What's interesting is Philadelphia is 28th in passing attempts, which it kind of signals that unlike all the other teams that are struggling to run the football, the Eagles refuse to believe that that's the case with them, and they're not just going to the passing game. They're continuing to, call almost the fewest amount of passes. I mean, the only teams behind them is the Jets and the Seahawks at 27.5, in Baltimore at 25.9, who's just not even passing the ball right now. I don't know what's going on with the Baltimore Ravens, but like I said, they're the other team that I'm like, something's just off. Kansas City's passing it 37 times per game right now. 37 times per game. Now, let's look at passing. Let's look at yards per play. Philadelphia, 20th, 5.2. And I don't know, yards per play is weird because it seems like every Eagles game I watch, it's like all their touchdowns come on big plays, but then there's a bunch of nothing for a while. So it averages out to 5 yards, which is 20th. It's not like it's good, but it's a weird measurement. It's a weird measurement because I don't know how much it tells you. Here's a good one. Third downs per game. Third downs per game. How many third downs is a team getting faced with per game? Because a good first down and second down team don't face that many third downs. The Rams have the fewest amount of third downs in the NFL. Only 11 third downs per game. That's wild. That is wild. Weirdly enough, Miami is 27th. Only 11 third downs per game. I can't tell if this is third downs converted, but then again, if you're not in that many third downs, That's because you have a good first and second down. It wouldn't be a knock on you. So here's the thing, though. If Barkley's running 3.8 yards per carry, then the Eagles are always passing it on third down, right? It's very likely that teams that are some of the worst in efficiency at running the football are in third and long and have to resort to throwing the ball. So we're looking at passing first downs per game. How many first downs are the Eagles getting per game by passing the football? The 49ers are first with 3.8. The Cowboys are second with 13.7. The Rams are third, 13.5. Kansas City's fourth, 13.2. Arizona, 12.7. The Colts, 12.5. Detroit, 12.5. New England, 12.1. Buffalo, 11.8. Philadelphia's 27th, 9.2. Wow. The Eagles are 27th in passing first downs per game with 9.2. Which means they're just not moving the chains enough. They're just not moving the sticks. Now, can we just look at third downs converted per game? Yeah, third down conversions per game. Philadelphia, there's only 3 teams worse. And I knew that's what I could read it. I was like, this is where I'm going with it. The Eagles are the third worst team in the NFL when it comes to third downs being converted per game. The only teams worse is Minnesota, 3.6, Atlanta, 3.9, Tennessee, 4.1, and Philadelphia, 4.3. Now, it would be one thing if, like we said, Philadelphia is not converting, a bunch of third downs because they're not in a bunch of third downs. We know that's not the case. The Rams are right above Philly. That is the case because they're good on first and second down. They're not in that many third downs. It's incredible. The Rams are converting 4 third downs per game. What? That's it? That's insanity. That's absolutely insanity. That's it. Wow. And now we can check that by NFL team first downs per play. The Rams, the Colts, and the Rams. The Rams are at 3.64. The Rams are right behind the Eagles, but that is due to their offense being so good on first and second down, which we know isn't the case with the Eagles. Period. We can check this by seeing how the Rams rank or where the Rams rank in first downs per play. And the Rams rank second in the NFL with 0.364 first downs per play. The Rams aren't getting to third down. It's not coming down to that. 4.3. 4.3, and Philadelphia is at, yeah. Philadelphia is at 4.3, and so are the Rams. .3 third downs being converted per game. But that is due to the Rams being second in the NFL in in first downs per play. Indianapolis, the Rams, Dallas, Seattle, Buffalo, 49ers, Green Bay, and New England. And weirdly enough, Cincinnati, all top 10. Cincinnati, first downs per play, wild. See, last one. See, Cleveland, Tennessee, the Raiders, the Saints, the Jets, and Philly. Okay. Like, that's what I'm talking about. The teams ranked in the bottom 7 for first downs per play is 32nd Cleveland, 31st Tennessee, 30th Raiders, 29th Saints, 28th Jets, 27th Eagles, 26th Texans. And Cleveland, Tennessee, the Raiders, Saints, and Jets are all teams that have 1, 2, or 3 wins. Besides the Eagles, again, like there's this exception with the Eagles on everything. It's like, well, how are they winning games? Well, I'll tell you this. Houston is ranked exactly the same as Philly, 0.296. 0.296. That is the exact same number as the average pertaining to first downs per play. Now, Houston has the best defense in the NFL. So that's why they're able to win games this way, which you can get away with if you have the best defense. And based on the passing game being ranked where it is, because let's see the offense, scoring offense, what is it? Passing offense, passing attempts, passing first downs. Where's just yard passing? Incomplete completion percentage, yards per completion. Opponent yards per play. It's weird. I can't find it. Let me see. Passing yards per game. NFL passing yards per game. Okay. So where is it ranked under all team stats? So Philadelphia is 23rd in the league in passing yards. 23rd in passing yards per game. And then, again, the only team worse, Jets, Cleveland, Tennessee, the Raiders, Commanders, Panthers, Vikings, Ravens, Dolphins. Those are the teams struggling to pass the ball. And you're still looking like, you want me to open that? There you go. You're still looking and trying to see how are the Eagles winning all these games. It's got to be defense, right? Opponent yards per game. Houston, number 1. Cleveland and Denver are 273, 274. So Houston can get away with being 26th in the NFL in first downs per play. They can get away with that because they have such a great defense. It doesn't matter. Now, if they played a team that has like another really good defense, like if Houston played Cleveland, I think the game would be a lot closer than people would assume. And Houston's defense is absolutely insane because it's like even when they give up yards, which they give up the fewest in the NFL, but it's like even when they do give up yards, it's hard to score touchdowns. I mean, they gave up 326 yards to Buffalo, but they were able to win that game. And Philly, they're 20th in opponent yards per game, which is crazy because it's like I was assuming based on the fact that the Eagles came into this game today 8-2, and they're one of the least efficient teams running the football. Barkley's averaging almost 60 yards per game, 3.8 per carry. The Eagles only top 10 team in the league. They're the only team that's top 10 in rushing attempts, but not 10 in rushing yards. Everyone else is in the top 10. The Eagles are top 10 in attempts, but then they drop to 21st in rushing yards, which tells you that Barkley isn't efficient at running the ball, which is why I found out he is indeed 3.8 yards per carry, not efficient, 62 yards per game, not even close to his 2,000-yard campaign last year. But because they've won so many games, you're thinking, well, they must be passing the football. They must be throwing the ball really well. And it's like, no, the Eagles are 23rd in passing yards per game. So then you think, well, okay, if the Eagles are struggling to run the football, but they're top 10 in rushing attempts, that means they're sticking to it, but it's not paying off. So they're probably in third and long quite often. So I wonder where the Eagles rank in third downs being converted. I wonder where the Eagles rank in passing first downs. Because if you run the ball on first and second down and it's not getting results, all of a sudden it's 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6, and well, you can't run the football, so you have to pass. So where do the Eagles rank in passing first downs per game? 27th with 9.2. They're 27th in the league. It's almost the worst. So they're not running the football. On third down, they're one of the worst teams in the league when it comes to passing for a first down. The Eagles are the 3rd worst team in the NFL when it comes down to third downs being converted per game. which is important because if you can't convert on third down, then you're just putting your defense right back on the field, right? So the only team worse is Minnesota, Atlanta, and Tennessee. Minnesota, Atlanta, and Tennessee. They cannot get it done. Minnesota, Atlanta, and Tennessee. And then the Rams are right behind the Eagles at third downs being converted. But that's because their offense is so good that they're rarely in third down. They convert on second down. First down, they convert. Like they rarely get to third down. And we can check that by seeing how where the Rams rank in first downs per play. And then, boom, the Rams are second in first downs per play. 0.364% of their plays result in a first down. That's second in the NFL. So it's like for the Rams, we understand why they rank 26th in third downs converted per game. It's just because they're not getting to third down. But we know based on the Eagles' efficiency running the football that they are indeed getting into third downs and then not converting those third downs. The teams ranked in the bottom 7 for first downs per play. Like I said, like the Rams were, right next to the Eagles because they're not in third downs. The teams ranked in the bottom 7. Cleveland is 32nd. Tennessee's 30th. The Raiders 29th. Saints 28th. Jets 27th. Eagles 26th. And then Texans are 25th. But the Texans, they can get away with it because of how good their defense is. Do the Eagles have this like Texans type of a defense that's carrying the team so they can get away with this offensively while winning games? Well, no. Philly's 23rd in passing yards per game, and their defense, their defense is actually 20th in the league in opponent yards per game. Right? The Texans are first in the NFL. So the Texans get away with it. But the Philadelphia Eagles, they can't get away with it. They're 20th in opponent yards per game. I'm still looking and trying to figure out how exactly the Eagles win football games. They have a good defense. It's not great. They have a very bad running game. It's not efficient. They stick with it. They barely pass it. They're ranked like 30th or 29th in passing attempts per game. And let me pull that up as well before I log out. But let me see passing offense, passing attempts per game. So they're not running the football. They're not efficient running the ball. We know that. On the passing side of the house, they're not efficient at passing the football. They're 23rd in passing yards per game. When it comes to passing attempts per game, they're 28th. So they run the football. They stick with the game. They're like sticking with the running game, even though it's not working. And then when they resort to the passing game in obvious third down situations, they're not converting. They're the third worst team in the NFL when it comes to third downs being converted per game. And that's mostly obvious passing situations because of how bad they are at running the ball in first and second down, which would explain why the Eagles are 27th in passing first downs per game. But, I mean, they're even worse when it comes to third downs being converted, period. And that includes their tush-push play. And like I said, the Rams right behind the Eagles, but that's because their offense is so good, they don't even get to third down. We know that isn't the case with the Eagles. That's why the Rams are second in the NFL in first downs per play. And then you're trying to see, well, where do the Eagles rank? Where do the Eagles on that chart? They're 27th. They're hanging out with Cleveland and Tennessee and the Raiders and the Saints and the Jets. The Texans are hanging out there with them, but like I said, the Texans are first in the NFL in yards, opponent yards per game. So they can get away with it. Great defense. How in the hell are the Eagles getting away with it? Like, how did they even get to 8-2? They're not running the ball well. They're not converting on third down. They're not efficient passing the ball. They give Barkley top 10. They're top 10 in rushing attempts, yet they're 21st in rushing yards. Their defense is worse than mediocre in yards allowed per game. First downs per play is down there with Cleveland, the Raiders, and the Saints. I don't get it. I've been looking since week 5, trying to figure out how the Eagles are winning football games. And the only thing I can come up with when I watch them play is they get big chunk plays like 3-4 times a game, and then they're just done for the day. And if they don't get those big chunk plays, like, it's over. There's no methodical driving with this team. It's all or nothing. And mostly it's nothing. And then you're relying on the defense to be like, hey, can you hold them under 21 points? And their defense is like, no, we'll try, but we gave up 24. We lost. Really? Damn, you guys had 21 points in the first half. Yeah, well, we didn't know we were only going to be able to get, 3 big plays, and they were all going to happen in the first half. You couldn't get one big play in the second half? How about this? Go on one good drive in the second half. I mean, it's 21-0. You guys just stop playing football at that point? Well, it's like, no, we can't pick and choose when our explosive plays, are allowed to happen. They just happen. And then they're gone for the day. It's like the Eagles have no control over the game. They have a couple great plays, and then it's over, and you never know when it's over. But this is not the type of year where the Eagles run it back. In this narrative that, like, the Eagles are the best team in the NFL. They won the Super Bowl. Is like, are we watching the same team? Like, I'm not using stats to build the story. I'm watching the games and reading stats to figure out what I'm watching. Because I'm like, this is so bad. Every time I watch this team, they're so bad. They have a couple good plays, and it's like awesome, but it's far and few between. And I'm going to the stats to back up what my eyes are seeing. I'm not ignoring my eyes to make a story through stats that aren't really there, which is a big difference. But the Eagles, they are a struggling team, and like, their schedule is pretty easy to close out the season. But this reminds me exactly of the 2023 season. They went to the Super Bowl, played a great game against Mahomes, lost, bad penalty. Then the year after, they lose both their coordinators. They kind of scratch their way to the playoffs, and then Tampa Bay embarrasses them in the first round. And this is just reminiscent of that season. The only difference is they've been able to win games this far, and I'm not really sure how they're doing it, but I think it's coming to an end. But thank you guys for watching. I got to go. I appreciate you guys for tuning in and listening today. As always, you can catch me on this podcast. This one's for Bill. As always, I'll see you guys in the next stream. See you. This one's for